Mexico was supposed to begin their World Cup with a celebration. Home crowd, opening match, a talented squad, a team expected to win comfortably against South Africa. And for the first few minutes, it looked exactly like that script. But football has a habit of tearing up the script. Because by the end of this match, there were 3 red cards, a stadium boiling with tension, VAR controversy, and a South African side reduced to 9 men still fighting until the final whistle. This was not a routine opener. This was 90 minutes of chaos. And it changed Group A before the tournament had barely begun. Estadio Azteca was alive long before kickoff. For Mexico, this tournament carries enormous pressure. Playing at home means expectation becomes a weight. Every pass is judged. Every mistake feels louder. And in the 9th minute, the crowd got exactly what it wanted. Julian Quinones struck early to put Mexico ahead, and suddenly the night looked comfortable. 1-0. Home fans roaring. South Africa chasing shadows. For a moment, it felt like the game might become one-sided. But South Africa did something important in those opening stages. They did not panic. Instead, they turned the match physical. 17 minutes in, Teboho Mokoena became the first player booked after a heavy challenge. 6 minutes later, Mexico's Brian Gutierrez went into the referee's book too. The tone was changing. This was no longer a calm World Cup opener. This was becoming a fight. As the first half continued, South Africa began to settle. Mexico still had more possession, but the game became scrappy, tense, uncomfortable. Every challenge drew noise from the crowd, every foul slowed the rhythm. And that suited South Africa perfectly. Because the longer the game stayed alive, the more pressure crept onto Mexico. A home opener can turn quickly. Fans start demanding perfection, players start forcing passes, anxiety spreads through a stadium. By halftime, Mexico were ahead. But they were not in control. And then came the moment that changed the entire match. 4 minutes into the second half, Brian Gutierrez broke through South Africa's defense. Sfefilo, Yaya, Sithole knew the danger immediately. He brought him down just outside the box. The referee reached for the red card. Straight red. South Africa were down to 10 men. At that moment, most people thought the game was over. Home crowd, 1-man advantage, Mexico already leading, the script seemed obvious now. But football is rarely that simple. Because instead of collapsing, South Africa became even more dangerous emotionally. 10-man teams often play with a strange kind of freedom. The pressure disappears. The mission becomes survival, pride, resistance. And Mexico suddenly looked nervous. Then, in the 67th minute, Raul Jimenez finally gave Mexico breathing room. 2-0. The stadium exploded. For Mexico, it should have been the moment that settled everything. But the game still was not finished with them. With Mexico leading 2-0 and South Africa down to 10 men, the match should have calmed down. Instead, it became more chaotic. Tackles grew heavier, tempers rose, players crowded the referee after almost every decision. Then, in the 84th minute, came the second major turning point. Mbazweni was sent off, after a VAR review, for striking Mexico's Roberto Alvarado in the face. Another straight red card. South Africa were down to 9 men. At that point, the scoreline almost stopped mattering. The match had become a battle of discipline, emotion, and control. And yet even then, South Africa kept fighting. That is what made this game memorable. Not the score. The resistance. Because many teams with 9 men would simply wait for the final whistle. South Africa did not. They kept pushing forward whenever they could. And deep into stoppage time, the chaos reached Mexico too. Cesar Montes hauled down Culizo Mudo to stop a dangerous counterattack and received a straight red card himself. Now it was 10 versus 9. 3 red cards in one World Cup opener. The final whistle could not come quickly enough for anyone on the pitch. Officially, Mexico got exactly what they needed. 3 points. Top of Group A. A winning start to the tournament. But the performance raised questions as well as celebrations. Mexico controlled large parts of the game, yet they struggled to kill it early. Against stronger opponents later in the tournament, that nervousness could become a problem. And there is another issue. Cesar Montes is now suspended for the next match against South Korea. That is a major defensive loss. For South Africa, the table looks harsh. 0 points. Bottom of Group A. But the story is more complicated than the standings suggest. For long stretches, they made Mexico uncomfortable. Even after the red card, they did not mentally collapse. The problem now is availability. Yaya Sithole is suspended. Themba Zwane is suspended. And Zwane's ban could even be extended, depending on FIFA's disciplinary review. That leaves South Africa heading into a crucial match against Czechia weakened and under pressure. One more defeat could effectively end their World Cup before it truly begins. But beyond the table and the suspensions, this match told us something important about this World Cup already. Opening games are supposed to be controlled showcases. This one felt raw, messy, emotional, unpredictable. And maybe that is why people will remember it. Not because Mexico won 2-0, but because for 90 minutes, the match felt like it could explode at any moment. 3 red cards. VAR drama. A home crowd swinging between celebration and frustration. And a South African team that, even with 9 men, refused to disappear quietly. That is the kind of game that changes the mood of a tournament. Mexico leave matchday 1 with the points and the lead in Group A. South Africa leave with frustration, suspensions, and a mountain to climb against Czechia. But if this opener proved anything, it is that this group may be far less predictable than people thought. And sometimes, the matches everyone expects to be straightforward become the ones nobody can stop talking about. Kindly press that subscribe button, like and share, as these moments in football exists to tell.